What is up, guys? I am Austin, and today I've got a cool story for you, Bruce. So today we're going to be speaking about possibly the scariest place in South Africa, but not scary in terms of like ghosts and stuff. We're talking about the toughest prison in South Africa, and this place is insane. But before we get into it, I just want to say it is such a privilege to be able to do these long form videos. You know, this is something we've been wanting to do for a long time. We've just struggled to get the time to actually do it, but we're finally here. We're doing it now. These long form videos, and I don't want to make any promises, but we're going to try do like maybe 1 or 2 videos a month. But thank you for clicking and watching the video. This is going to be a good one, I can promise you that. I also just want to say a big thank you to Ethan, who's behind the camera. Say how's it, Ethan?
How's it, guys?
So Ethan is going to be helping us out with this. He's making this possible. So Ethan's also my cousin, great cinematographer, great editor. So yeah, a warm welcome to Ethan, the editor. He's going to be joining us for these videos. So today we are going to be diving into something wild, the toughest prison in South Africa, and apparently this one is even worse than the notorious Polesmore prison in Cape Town. Now, if you're a South African, I'm sure you've definitely heard of Polesmore prison. I mean, growing up, everyone knows what Polesmore prison is. It's known as the toughest prison in South Africa. In fact, it's so bad, Polesmore prison has even been on international documentaries, like on CNN. BBC have done documentaries about Polesmore prison. It is really bad. So you can imagine, if there is a prison worse than Polesmore prison, it must be horrible. So we're going to be talking about that today. In fact, speaking about Polesmore prison, Ethan and I actually know someone who was recently in Polesmore prison. Yeah, we're not going to mention names. We're not going to mention names, but someone we know quite close to us was in Polesmore prison. What do you say about Polesmore prison, Ethan? It was pretty hectic, eh?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. He walked in there nervous, but he walked out ruling the place.
Yeah, somehow he joined one of the gangs and ended up almost ruling the prison. We don't know how. But anyway, but basically he confirmed to us that Polesmore prison really is as bad as everyone thinks. Polesmore prison is really bad. We are going to be speaking about this prison, which is the Ebongweni Super Maximum Correctional Center, which can be found in the small town of Kokstad, KwaZulu-Natal. It's also known as Kokstad prison. And guys, this prison is so bad that even the prisoners say it's the worst prison they've ever been in.
This is the worst prison I've ever been in, whether it's in Nigeria or in Angola or anywhere. This is the worst kind of place you can keep anyone.
This guy is out here reviewing prisons like they're a hotel or something. I mean, that is outrageous. But jokes aside, this place is no joke. Ebongweni is the only super maximum security prison in South Africa. So it's designed to hold the country and the continent's most dangerous and violent criminals. It is the most secure prison in the whole of Africa. It's been given that sort of informal prize for being the most secure prison in South Africa and in Africa because no one can break out of here. Since it opened in 2002, not a single person has ever escaped from this Ebongweni prison. Not one escape in over 2 decades. That is insane. Not even Michael Scofield could break out of this prison. Although I actually back Michael Scofield. I think he could escape from this prison. He would find a way. I wonder what the South African version of Michael Scofield is. What do you think, Ethan?
Maybe Michael Schoonewald, I'm not sure.
Mikael Schoonewald, something like that. Yeah, he would find a way. He would find a way. So when you look at the way this prison was built, you can see why it's impossible to escape from it because it is crazy. So when it was built in 2002, it was part of South Africa's tough on crime strategy at the time, meant to deal with violent offenders and those who are considered escape risks. This prison costed the government 450 million rand to construct. This was a big project, and you have to give credit where it's due actually, because you know this was built by our current government, the ANC government, and I must say they actually did a good job with this because this prison is apparently also very well run. It's apparently actually very clean. They never have contraband in the prison. As you know, no one has escaped. It is a very well run facility, so we have to give credit where it's due. And as we know, a lot of the prisons in South Africa are not well run, but this one is actually like a world-class facility. So that's actually something we can be proud of as South Africans. That's pretty cool. So the prison can hold around 1,400 inmates, but here's where things start to sound really intense. So the reason why this prison is so intense is because most of the cells are underground. The prisoners do not see the light of day. They don't go above ground. They are underground pretty much the entire time. So not only does this make escape almost impossible since the prisoners are underground the whole time, but it also makes it feel like you're living in a dungeon. And that's exactly the whole point. This is meant to be a really tough facility. It's not meant to be a hotel. This is a prison. So the entire facility is surrounded by multiple layers of fencing. There are CCTV cameras everywhere, electronic gates, security checks upon security checks. They've got like the latest technology in this prison, patrolling it. You name it, they've got it. Now, obviously Polesmore prison, which we spoke about earlier, is much tougher than Ebongweni in terms of Polesmore has really bad gang culture, gang violence, lots of overcrowding. So Ebongweni doesn't really have that same gang presence, so it's not as tough as Polesmore in that way. But what does make Ebongweni so much worse is the level of isolation. So the prison is designed to keep inmates almost in constant solitary confinement. In case you don't know what solitary confinement is, that is where you are kept completely alone, no contact, no conversation with anyone, just you and the four walls of your cell. Imagine the torture of not being able to speak to anyone all day. The prisoners actually, in fact, barely interact with the guards because the doors are opened and closed electronically. So that means that the prisoners don't even interact with the guards or the wardens at all. The reason this is also so helpful is because it makes breaking out of the prison so much more difficult, because according to investigations, what people have found is often prisoners are able to escape from prison because they work with the guards, these corrupt guards who send them information or give them tools to use to break out. But because the doors are opened electronically, the guards don't interact with the prisoners much, and reduces the possibility of breakouts by a lot. And listen to this part is crazy. So inmates are not allowed to read any book except for the Bible or any other religious text. So obviously they don't get a TV or anything like that. They're allowed to read, but you can't just read like, just some leisurely casual reading. I want to read a Lord of the Rings or whatever. No, you can only read the Bible, or I guess the Quran or any other religious text. So I guess that's good. It's like, okay, you can only read something that's going to make you a better person. So, but that is pretty crazy. I mean, the only form of entertainment you have is the Bible. But the thing with long-term solitary confinement is it's actually illegal in South Africa. It's considered a violation of human rights if someone is kept in solitary confinement for too long. But reports from Ebongweni claim that some prisoners have been kept in solitary confinement for up to 10 years. Imagine being in solitary confinement for 10 years, not speaking to anyone. That's enough to drive anyone absolutely insane. So apparently how the prison is operated is it has a 3-tier system, or 3 different phases that determines how much freedom each prisoner gets. Phase 1 is the strictest, which means prisoners are locked in their cells for 23 hours a day. They only get 1 hour of exercise time, and even that exercise time, it's not outside, it's in a small enclosed area underground with no fresh air, no natural light, just like you're going to another prison cell. In fact, the inmates apparently call it the cage. There have also been serious accusations against the warders, things like excessive violence and even murdering prisoners. One former inmate told media that he was tied up by guards and left on a concrete floor for 7 days. 7 days, that is pure torture. So the allegations got so bad that this went to court. A judge launched a 3-year investigation into the prison, and this is how he described it. He said the prison had gone from security to cruelty. That's how he described it. But as I said earlier, the prison is very well run. It's got great hygiene, good coordination. It's a very well run place. So this is a good example of the government running at least one public facility very well. And they also have reportedly been successful in keeping the prison free of contraband, as we mentioned earlier. But here's the thing which we need to speak about is, as we've heard from all of this prison is a really, really tough place. But many South Africans don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, a lot of South Africans actually support the idea of a place like this. They argue that, prisoners have violated the law. These are dangerous criminals in this prison specifically, people who have killed others. So, they deserve to be put in a place as tough as this, which is a fair enough point. But that raises a big question. Is Ebongweni a necessary evil, a place that keeps the worst of the worst from ever hurting anyone again? Is that necessary? Do we need more places like that? Or has this actually crossed the line into something a bit inhumane? Should South Africa reconsider having prisons like that? That is the question. I would love to hear what you think about that. The person we know who was in Pollsmoor prison, he told us that, Pollsmoor prison is so rough that it actually does not lead to rehabilitation at all, because the prisoners are just so badly treated. They're in this violent environment and there's no chance chance for them to actually become better human beings. But you know, on the flip side, it makes sense that why should South Africans have sympathy for these people who have violated the law, they've harmed other people? So that's a big question today, and what I want to hear from you guys. Is Ebongweni a good thing to have in South Africa, or is it a bit too far? I'd love to hear what you guys think. But yeah, that's about it for today. The toughest prison in South Africa, even worse than Pollsmoor prison. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments of the video below. Other than that, we will be back very soon with another video, so please stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, share this with your other friends, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.